So, Billy, I haven't told you this yet.
Oh, no.
But
Here we go.
today I was supposed to be in Guam. And I wasn't going to tell you.
Wait, what?
Yeah, no, I'm getting there. So I wasn't going to tell you like the time I didn't tell you when I was in California, or the time I didn't tell you when I was in Africa, or the time I didn't tell you when I was in it was just going to be Hugh in Guam, right? Like Hugh in transit.
Yeah, whatever.
Sure. So October 1st, I got an email that I had orders. So I was going to go to Guam for a few weeks. And then due to stuff, they got canceled.
Oh, shucks.
Like Thursday. But Wednesday, the 2nd of October, right? I'm talking with my reserve center and I'm like, hey, my orders are in a hard hold. What can I do to clear this up?
Yeah.
The guy writes me back. I shit you not, dude. This is an actual email that somebody who wears the uniform of Uznavi wrote. Good morning, BU1. Have you completed your anti-terrorism force protection training for FY25? I wrote this motherfucker back. I wrote, good morning. Are you asking if I have completed my FY25 training on the 2nd day of October when it was only been available since the 1st of October for orders I got on the 1st of October? And I like went down a couple lines. Was like, no, I have not.
No, I have not. It's been
in light of this realization on mostly your part, could you please clear my hard hold with the understanding that I will have it done by the end of the day? He did not.
Oh, so
that's not what prevented me from going. But I'm like,
oh, damn it.
This dude, no, oh my God. Could you fucking imagine?
Dude, I was getting excited for a little bit.
Sailor charged with assault and battery of another sailor when and arrested was shouting, like, you only have one fucking job. Your job is admin. That's why
it would be funny if one of the MAs was arresting you and he went, I watch your show, and then just fucking took you off.
Dude, the audacity this kid had to write me and say, have you completed a training that's only been available for less than 48 hours for orders you have to execute in 72 hours?
Yeah,
like, I'm sorry. My fucking ATFP for the 16th year in a row is going to prevent me from going to Guam. Listen. It's been 8 years.
Listen here, guy.
It's been 8 years since I've ever even completed all of my GMTs. And do you know what happened? Nothing. 9 years in a row now. Fucking idiot, man.
Oh my God. It's funny. It just never fails. It just, as long as I've been out, I think the only thing that changed is from my understanding and all these conversations we've had is that you can digitally sign your DD-214 now. I mean, besides that, it just sounds like the same BS.
Yeah. Well, you know, when you joined also
almost 10 years ago,
when you joined, you used to also get paid in cash too. So
we've
come a long way. We've come a long way.
I hate your whole face right now. Anyway. So everyone, thank you so much for joining the Liberty Risk Podcast. Again, it's Billy and Hugh. We're here. We got some really special guests. We're going to bring them in here in a minute. Real quick, before we bring them in, we just want to give our support, love, and prayers to everyone that's been affected by Hurricane Helene. We know a lot of people out there. And for those down in Florida right now, kind of just brace for shock, you know. If you got that gut feeling like, hey, maybe we should just go, listen, the stuff that you have is not important. Pack up the dog, pack up the kids, pack up the wife, get in the car, drive north. Even if you're hey, listen, man. There's look, you're talking to a guy who's divorced. My priorities might be a little skewed. Anyway, all right. But get your family, get out of there. It's a wreck. It's just a total wreck. So, and yes, I did, Hugh. You're very welcome. I saw that. But all right, Hugh, go ahead. Who we got with us today? Who do we got with us today?
So tonight we have the Barracks Legend Foundation. We have Angelo Martinez and Natalia Earle. I hope I'm saying that right. She's not shaking her head in the green room, so that's good for me. Angelo is a prior service Marine, served 8 years in the infantry, and Natalia, an extensive resume that I will highlight when she is here because I know these words, but not in this order. And frankly, that leads me to believe that the intelligence level on this podcast, I'm going to be sitting at the bottom tonight. But they are going to talk about the great things they're doing for transitioning veterans. And I'm really excited about this. So Billy, if you wouldn't mind, please bring them in.
Yeah, let's get them in here. Hey guys, what's going on? So, okay. So first off, before you say anything else, I know he butchered your last name, Natalia, because you were both dying. Angelo was about to lose it. Angelo was
Was
about
that
to
bad?
lose.
No, it was pretty close. It's Earle.
Yeah, like Earle, New Jersey. Earle Naval Weapons Station. It's spelled
Oh my
the same
God.
way.
Great.
Earl. Okay, I got you. All right,
No
I'll
big
get it.
deal. I don't
I'll get it
care.
right the next time.
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Hey guys,
no
listen,
worries.
it's going on our bloopers reel. We'll send you a ton of it. Okay?
All right, so Natalia, help me out here. Your resume, you have, you've been an entrepreneur, a general manager, a corporate educator, a master stylist. You speak multiple languages.
Yes, I do.
It's not just like English, bad English, and British English. You speak like legitimate languages, right?
Right. No, I speak multiple languages. I'm originally from Republic of Georgia, which used to be part of
Oh.
Russia.
Oh,
So I
shit.
speak Georgian and Russian and
Oh
English.
my God.
A
Show
little bit
off.
of
That's all I
Spanish.
heard. Show off.
Can you write in those crazy Cyrillic characters too?
I can, but very poorly, like a second
Okay.
grader, because I haven't done it in like 30 years. But I can
Yeah.
if
Would
I
you-
have to. Like
When you
I'll
talk
do
to
it.
family back home in the motherland, do they text in Cyrillic?
They
Or,
do,
like,
and
email?
it's terrible. Like I have to speak in the microphone to respond back because like I can't like write it fast enough. know?
Voice.
Exactly.
crazy.
You just have keyboards like in 3 languages, and you just
Yeah.
switch it.
Oh no, I'd lose my mind. I'd throw my phone. I'd be like, screw it, I'm done.
Yeah,
Going
exactly.
then-
going back to 93, I'm finished. Like,
And you also have your own podcast, an award-winning one called Buckle Up. And as I understand, you talk about ups and downs of decision making, success and failure, and various adversities. Is that right?
Yes, because I was like sick and tired of hearing everyone's success stories and formulas.
all right,
And I'm like, how about adversity? Like, how did you get through the tough times, right? Who helped you? What helped you? What resources, people, So I just ask my guests to share their darkest moments and how did they overcome it?
That's awesome. That's a great
Yeah, it's
perspective.
very awesome.
What's that they say that like you can learn as much, if not more, in failure as you can from success, right?
It's the most important classroom you'll ever attend, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is how you learn.
Like, oh, it's not just me. It turns out there's an entire world of people out there who didn't just make it on the first try.
Exactly. And like I have guests that, how do you overcome when your 3 kids and your mom all pass away in a car accident? Like how do you overcome that? How do you become a grief counselor after that? So some of the stories are gut wrenching, but they're really like amazing.
Yeah, it lets people know they're not, like I said, they're not the only one. That's so wild. A friend of mine is in a very similar situation. I'm gonna have to direct him to your show and see if he can get a little bit of a relief, a little bit of weight off his chest.
For sure.
And Angelo, you were listed as a seasoned infantryman, which I did. I laughed a little bit because like immediately in my head, it's like, like you try to like guide the younger troops and like, hey, listen, if you do this choice, if you do that choice, if you go this route, you go that route, right? And they don't listen to you. They like go make their own choices and they do whatever. And it's just like, as an infantryman, and when they don't listen, you're like, oh, why do I gotta listen to that guy? Like, well, you should probably listen to old men in careers where people normally die young. Maybe that's a person who worth listening to. Like, no, I'm gonna marry the stripper and get the fucking
Corvette off my bonus.
I'm gonna get the Corvette with the 3.5 with 20% interest. Don't worry, Sleazy Dave said I'll be good for it. But Angelo, excuse me, you what year did you get out of the Marine Corps?
2011.
2011, and then since 2011, what has been your primary purpose?
Man,
I know it's a tough one, right?
That's a loaded one.
That's a
Yeah.
loaded one.
I'll be right back. I need a drink.
Yeah. When I got
I
out,
can't hear Angelo. Can you guys hear him?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but not him. That's funny.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Usually day-to-day operations, I tune him out.
That's what it is. Yeah.
I got out in 2011, and it was a hard transition.
Yeah.
So, it was either go be a cop, go be a fireman, and I didn't want to do any of that. And I went off of what exactly I was kind of doing already in the Marine Corps, and that was womanizing, drinking, and partying. And I went into the nightclub and strip club industry, and that actually wound up leading me to sobriety. So I got sober and clean. Yeah. We joke about marrying a stripper. Well, like the Marine Corps,
Just say it, Angelo.
Yeah.
I married a stripper, and but that brought me to sobriety. I wound up getting sober and clean. I celebrated sobriety, 10 years sober on Labor Day.
Mazel, man, that's a big deal.
Awesome. Congratulations, brother.
Hell
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Good for you.
So it a lot of the things that I endured getting out, it's kind of been just like bounced back tenfold almost.
Yeah.
So everything from school, and I'm in chiropractic med school in Kaiser. I've been blessed to be able to form a foundation with Natalia, who tunes me out when I talk more than 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it's been, the transition out was hard, and it took me a while to get to a place where I'm like, wow, this is actually really healthy. This is actually growth.
And where, when you got out in 11, was it by choice or was it due to downsizing?
That was a rough departure. It was a rough
departure.
Yeah, because I had undiagnosed TBI. Now that I mean, PTSD, I mean, yeah, but the TBI is really what was the hard part, because I wish I could. I'll send you guys a screenshot of it. I did a brain spec. Keep in mind, I went to the VA. I did a brain scan.
Yeah.
Brain scan is just like the outside of your brain. They're like,
it doesn't go in depth. Yeah.
No, but when you do that brain spec, I had a giant black spot in the middle of my brain. This is your portion of my parietal and temporal lobe. And that's the part that was affecting all my sleep, all my decision making, everything. I would black out.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
I should probably get a second consult.
Dude, it was bad. I'll send you guys a picture.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to check that out.
Yeah, it was really bad. Since 2005, I've averaged about an hour and a half of sleep.
Oh shit, dude.
From 2005 to 2022. Now I get like 6 hours of sleep, which is far better than anything. But that I was blacking out while I was driving, and I would come to, and I'd be like 3 or 4 exits, along the road. I'm like, what just happened? My cognitive health was declining. I was struggling to pronounce words, struggling to write my name, spell my name. It was rough. It was pretty bad. But I did hyperbaric, and that kind of helped. And now I just started ketamine therapy through KMD Wellness.
Really?
Yeah.
And I cannot wait to get the fuck out of this goddamn uniform. You can do ketamine therapy. Fuck, man.
It's in a medical setting, so it's a lot different. But it's, I tell you what, let me see how I can, just based on the two sessions that I've done so far. And again, this is in a medical setting. This is wellness, doctors, and I have come leaps and bounds emotionally just on my first one. And on my second one, I felt far less riddled with anxiety and stress.
Jesus. Man, who knew that drugs winning the war on drugs was going to have like these like massively immeasurable positive outcomes? Like, could you imagine if like even 20 years ago we were just like, you know what? Whatever. Who knows where we'd be?
No, I've never talked to anyone that's I've heard of people doing the ketamine therapy. I've never actually been able to talk with someone, so it's interesting to hear your perspective from it, because I know there's some veterans that are able to do like mushrooms, like hallucinogenics, psychedelics. Thank you. And I know a couple of people have done that under a controlled setting. It's not like they're just like going around like, hey, you got mushrooms, and just like chewing on them. But it's good to hear the ketamine. Yeah, is
therapy. It's important to say ketamine therapy.
Yes, the ketamine therapy is making. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. It's very true.
I will butcher that if I don't say that's okay. That's fucking.
No,
great.
but at the ketamine therapy, it's good to hear that's working. It's because, Angelo, as you know, the VA is just like, here, take this pill, and take this pill, and then take this pill, and then take this pill. And I have a friend who's a physician's assistant, and her and her husband, I went to high school with her. Her and her husband were driving through North Carolina. They came to visit. It was early. They stayed the night. I woke up the next morning, getting ready to cook breakfast, and I got all these bottles laying out, and I'm ready to start taking my meds. And she's like, how many medications do you take? You know, she's in the medical field, so she's getting curiosity, you know?
Yeah.
And I said, oh, this is the stuff the VA gives me. And she starts looking at them. She goes, do you take these 3 together? I said, yeah. She goes, do you go to sleep when you take these? I said, sometimes. She goes, you could not wake up. I went, what? She goes, these 3 together, you could stop breathing when you're sleeping and you would never know it. So I went, I just took them, and I was like, you know, point is there's so many other options, and I'm glad to hear that the ketamine therapy
and I'll be honest, like I was very against, and because being sober and clean, like, you know,
you don't want to backslide. You don't want it to like become a new thing that spirals out of control.
Yeah, and when I entered the chiropractic program, it's a holistic approach to medicine. So the conversations we're having, there's nothing medicine-wise. Like there's no real like, oh, you know what? Maybe prescribing someone these pills. The conversations that we're having at school are all based on plant therapy. I mean, being sober and clean, I was over against, you know, obviously weed, all this. My view on all of it has changed completely.
It's crazy once you start to understand like the science and like, and not just like what the effect is as far as like the high is concerned, but how it affects your mood and your appetite and your just general awareness, and like how it can destroy or eliminate your pain entirely. And you're like, man, I got like 98 of these orange bottles with a white cap, just like taking up space in my cabinet. Haven't done this. They're supposed to do it for the last 5 years. No big deal. And then you're just like, oh, turns out there's an entire other industry that our government said, no, we're good with that. That actually is doing some good.
Yeah.
So Angelo, Natalia, what is it? So Barracks Legend got started in 2023, correct?
Yeah.
So you guys are in September, is that right?
May,
excuse me. So you're a year and a half. Before we get into what you've been up to, what was it that got the two of you together that created Barracks Legend Foundation? What's the event that created that tipping point for the organization?
Drugs.
I knew I could get it. I knew it was in there.
Drugs.
I'll let Natalia, I'll let you kind of, because that's.
Well, and I won't go into your story, Angelo, but in March of 2023, I went to a fundraiser where I was invited, and it was for our veterans, and Angelo was the keynote speaker, and he shared his personal journey, and it just really touched me. And I was also dumbfounded, and I was that ignorant civilian that sat there, and I was like, what is happening to our veterans? Because even though I'm an immigrant and I've lived in this country for 30 years, I love this country. I still think we live in the best country in the world. If I have to pick up a gun and fight for it, I will. So to me, it was like, how and why is this happening? And don't people join the military because you get all these benefits? Like, what are you talking about, type of a thing? And because I was a podcast host, I made a host of that event introduced me to Angelo, because I just wanted to have him on my show. I just wanted a podcast interview to share his journey, to introduce him to my listeners, and to see how we could contribute and how I could help. And then, after a few meetings and more, we started to talk, and I realized how good he was at what he was doing. But at that moment, he was fundraising for another nonprofit. And I was like, why aren't you doing this for yourself? And he was like, well, I don't know. I just never had people around me that could help me. And I was like, well, I can help you. How different can a nonprofit be for profit? And I ate shit with pasta spoons, right? It's like two different worlds. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we gotta figure this out. So, and year and a half later, and we are up. Our revenue is up by 300%. We went from one event to 4 events a month. It has gotten out of control. Yeah, like he literally bullied me to be part of this foundation because I was like, I don't want to be part of this.
He got so defensive so quick. He's like, hey, calm down.
Yeah. I'm sure the infantry sergeant who doesn't really want to talk about what's going on in his head had to convince the post-Cold War era defector to do something that she didn't want to do.
Right. No, but for me, it became like, okay, how do I serve my country now without serving my country? And it was through the veterans. And I was like, I understand what it feels like to have the freedoms that we have in this country. And I'm so appreciative to men and women who fought for it, and for some at ultimate cost. Right. So I was like, okay, like, how do I give back, and what can I do to serve this community? And when I really saw at the first event that I attended, it was a shark dive. By the way, it's like free dive with no cage, no nothing. Because again, it's
I thought that was
right?
a euphemism. I thought that was just like a thing I didn't understand. Oh, you did a shark dive.
Like, what? You guys are gonna swim with the sharks just like that? Like, no big deal. And we had an amputee that came on the boat, but the woman that came on the boat and the woman that left were two different people. So when I understood the impact that these events are having on the veterans, I looked at him, I was like, I get it. Work me to death. Like, I get it. I'm in. And neither of us, we take a paycheck. Everything that we raise, it goes back into the community, back into the event. And it's been just absolute honor and pleasure to serve this community, even though I quit like once a month. But it's great.
She does. She has a resignation letter ready.
The first event the shark dive, or was that the tipping point?
For me, it was the first event that I got to attend, even though I handle a lot of operations, because a lot of events are happening on Saturday, and I usually work and I still have bills to pay, so I don't get to go to a lot of events. Yeah. But that was like one of the first events that I went to. And when I saw the impact, it just made sense. It's just really like kind of clicked in my head that these events are necessary, because they won't talk to me. I'm a civilian. I don't get it. But the way that they were talking to one another, and, like, she was like, oh, this is probably the worst thing you guys going to see, because she was taking her, prostate leg off. And of course, all these guys and girls are like, one less leg for a shark to bite. And like, like they were giving each other like such a hard time, but through humor.
Angela's so great. Angela's like, see, like, what's funny? How you say stuff like that. Like, I don't come from a family. I don't have military background in my family. Like, when I left, my family was confused. They were like, what? I left. I joined September of 2000, literally a year before 9/11, and just. I was like, I want to go see the world, and, my grandfather served in World War II, but he was forced to do that. He was drafted. He didn't choose to. But what you're saying is, I wish there was a way you could bring, like, say if I went to one of the events, just bring my family, just for them to see how veterans bond. Because when I talk to my family, I make jokes like we were just laughing at, I make really dark veteran jokes, and my family's like, You're
I was horrified.
Like, what is wrong with you? And my mother's like, you shouldn't say that. Like, yeah. So it's awesome to see the three of us laughing, and then also for you to get it, Natalia. Like, you're like, okay, this makes sense. This is
right. Yeah. And it's so true what you were saying, Billy, because what I saw also, I saw an opportunity to bring the families, because I just kept watching spouses, I kept watching kids. And I was like, there's a disconnection there. And a lot of 100%. Veterans, like the wives were like, where were you, right? When this was happening, or where were you when the kids were sick? And a lot of veterans have told us that they don't have relationships with their children because they've been deployed 5, 10, 20 years. And I told Angelo, I was like, I think we have an opportunity. We need to involve the family.
Yeah.
Because a lot of nonprofits do the work just for veterans, but they don't allow families. And just to watch when mother and daughter are bonding over the cooking class, or father and son are fishing together and they're having laughs and conversations, like, it's priceless. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Angelo, tell us about some of the first couple events that Barracks Legend did. How was it for you? Kind of sitting on the you go to your transition classes and you have to listen to like Department of Labor and all those other organizations tell you about like what's available for you, what's out there. How was it being kind of in their seat, talking to people, trying to offer them help?
You know, it's interesting because I never, let me see how to say this. I never realized that there was a suicide epidemic. When I got out in 2011, was oblivious that any of that even existed, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I almost took my life in 2019. And then I met a few Marines that were in the area, and that really changed my entire life, meeting these Marines and stuff like that. And I realized real quickly, I was like, oh my God, I've been missing this camaraderie. That's like the missing piece for me, because I've been sober and clean. You know, I have my faith, but I was missing the camaraderie. And I started working with these other nonprofits, and I'm realizing that they're doing great work, amazing work. I'm sure you guys are aware of Irreverent Warriors.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Snoopy Hikes, right? I was their South Florida coordinator for last 3 years.
Nice.
Nice. Very awesome.
Yeah, it's great organization, amazing. I love the atmosphere. One of the things that Natalia and I realize is, you know, their mission is just once a year for the state or the city that they're in.
Yeah.
Like, well, how do we combat suicide if it's happening 44 veterans a day, every day? Well, one event cut it for us, and we realized that we had to be consistent. If we're going to battle something that consistent, we have to be even more consistent. Yeah. And as crazy as it sounds, that's really what catapulted us to do what we're doing now. And when I sit there in front of these veterans and I share the statistics, because there are a lot of people that will push back on me saying and sharing some of these statistics. The number 22 excludes alcohol and drug-related incidences. This is where you get 44 veterans or more. That was really uncovered. Yes, that was uncovered by the America Warrior Partnership, Alabama State, and Duke University.
No shit.
Old Duke, 30 minutes from me.
Once I read that study, I was like, all right, let me make sure, because a portion of school for me is research. So I have to make sure it's credible evidence. I got to make sure it's credible sources. I sent it to a few friends that worked in other VAs and stuff like that. They had never seen it, and they were blown away by how credible it was. And then,
I mean, I'll be honest, that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
I thought the 22
send that over
was
to us.
all encompassing. Yeah, I thought it was an all encompassing.
You got it.
I'd love to read that. Hell yeah.
Yeah. It was hard to read because you're so used to hearing 22, and 22 a day is just terrible too. But when I read these studies and I realize it's 44 veterans or more, it makes me realize how important our mission is. So when I go in front of those Marines, soldiers, sailors, all those veterans, I am speaking directly to them and ensuring that they know that they're seen, heard, and loved. Because I have no idea, for the most part, what they're going through until I'm able to interact with them through the event. And through our events, we've had we started small. We had like 5, 10. We've gone to 100 veterans at an event.
Oh my God.
And it's just been growing so rapidly. This is why we say, like, we started with one event a month. We went to 4. By February, we'll have 7 events almost a month.
Just in South Florida?
Just in South Florida.
That's insane.
And it's a portion, it's a combination of the community looking at our website, looking at our mission, and looking how consistent we are. And it's another combination of us taking the mission that serious and knowing that there's someone out there that needs to come to these events.
So I want to ask is regarding your events in the community. So we had somebody that we're trying to get, we spoke to back and forth before we took a hiatus, and they're able to basically pinpoint what it is in their community that is not the collective, their community, right? The veteran community. They're pinpointing what it is in the community of the person who took their life that caused it to happen. And I say cause like really loosely.
Yeah.
And so you have here empowering veterans to overcome adversity, reclaim their purpose by focusing on 7 key pillars: PTSD, finance, entrepreneurship, relationships, health, spirituality, and community. All of your events are around these 7 pillars. Is it all encompassing, or is like, do you for each event, do you focus on a couple elements at each event?
Are you reading our values from, or are you reading our conference?
So this is from the email I have from Natalia earlier, a couple days prior.
So let me answer that. So what we were able to identify at our events is this. So mainly our events were happening is because veterans tend to isolate themselves, right? So what we are doing is we draw them from isolation into a community, because your community will show up. Your community understands you. But at these events, we've been able to identify those 7 pillars that veterans struggle with the most when they transition from the military into a civilian life, right? Because we've been asking questions like, what did you need support with the most, right? Because when you come out, Angelo covers this really well, that you have loss of purpose, camaraderie, right? You don't know where you belong. Now you were here. Now you are nobody in the civilian world, right? No one listens to you. The emails are not getting answered as fast. Your family doesn't understand you. You're dealing with PTSD, traumatic brain injury that you may or may not have, and you don't even know you have that, right? So for us, we were like, okay, how can we create the conference that's not like just rah-rah, you get red, white, and blue pen and you come out and you have nothing. But when these boys and girls leave this conference, they have an education, they have resources, because there are so many organizations that do incredible work. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, but how do we serve as a bridge to connect our veterans to resources that are available outside of VA? The VA does incredible work, but they're understaffed, they're overwhelmed. They can't get to the veterans on time, and the veterans is a very proud community, right? If they're asking for help, they're in crisis. We need to show up yesterday. So for us to identify all of this, okay, like we have Shepherd Center in Atlanta does incredible work with traumatic brain injury. Not very many people know. They fly veterans out there. They'll house them for free. Wow. They're taken care of. How about, NSU College? They provide free dental, mental, vision, hearing. Not very many veterans know this, right?
Wow.
How can we become that bridge that when these veterans come, and this is when we find out, like, so-and-so is homeless, so-and-so is struggling with substance abuse, so-and-so is struggling with this, but we keep it very private. And we just provide the support, right? We just provide the blueprints. We just provide the connections. Hey, let's reach out. Let's connect you to so-and-so. And within like a few days, you're taken care of. That's what our main focus is. And this is, a lot of people look at us and they're like, oh, they're just events. They're having a good old time, right? But that's not true. At these events, these boys and girls relax enough, or they connect enough to share their struggles in their current season of their life. And they've given up so much for this country. And when they get out, like, you guys are forgotten, kind of. You know what I mean? So it's just like, how can we have you feel that you're loved and your community will show up, that Angelo will wake up at 3:00 in the morning and pick you up and take you out for coffee and donuts if you need to talk or whatever needs to get done, that we as a foundation are here for you.
That's interesting you say that too, because Angelo, I'm sure, has this experience when you got out of the military. It was wild. In the civilian sector, these motherfuckers don't know their place.
No.
And like, oh, I work for this person who works for this person who works for this person. But for some reason, this fucker keeps coming over telling me to do shit like I fucking work for them. And God forbid I tell them they need to piss off. And I think I remember reading some time ago that something like less than 3% of people who have ever served in the military reach retirement. Right? So less than 3% of the people who've ever served hit 20 years, right? You're talking about people who do, 4, 6, 8, 12, 14. I know a couple people did 18 and they were like, nope, I'm good. But you go home, right? Wherever home is. And a lot of them, like, oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to be with my family and my childhood friends. And you're like, well, time has passed. Those people are not the same people anymore. They didn't have the same experiences that you had anymore. And part of you is like, I'm really looking forward to reconnecting with these people. But there's this whole other section of your brain that's like, hey, they didn't used to shoot people, right? Like, they don't know what an MRE or a wag bag or a four-hole burnout is. They might not take it as friendly as a bunch of dudes down at the VFW might. And you get home and then you forget that part where you're like, oh, these aren't the same people. And then instead of reaching out and asking for help, Natalia, as you say, we only usually reach out when it's, either
that oh shit moment.
Pardon me. Yeah, it's either about to be too late or it is too late, because we're like, now we'll figure it out. We'll take care of it.
Right.
And you deep dive on social media. It's 3 a.m. and all of a sudden you're reading some post about like doom scrolling and how you should be microeducating. You're like, shut the fuck up. I just want to watch funny videos. It's 3 a.m. And you're passing an opportunity to learn and grow. But you did your time and they said, go do these things and you'll be successful as a civilian. And then you did them and maybe you were and maybe you weren't. And so now having these events, 4 a month, which is amazing, by the way, like,
that
sounds, it sounds fucking exhausting. So
that's why I want to quit all the time.
Hats off to the two of you. Like, I had a hard enough time getting going at work today, and I'm just like a mechanic, I'm just down there turning wrenches and listening to heavy metal music to try to get the blood going. But I like, community is what it's so crazy because like it's obtainable and it's reachable, and it's the entirety of the world's information and resources at your fingertips. And we are just super okay for the longest time being like, no, I don't need it. And then you go to one of these events and you're like, fuck, I wasted all this time. I wish I had my head out of my ass a lot sooner. And you say, so Natalia, you said they leave with an education. So give us, Angelo or Natalia, give us a rundown. What you have an event coming up in October, right?
There's
November.
a few of them. There's a few of them.
We have a few of them. There's.
Hold on. I have.
Hold on. I'm gonna pull it.
November.
The Barracks Legend Conference is November 16th.
Yeah.
In Seminole, Florida. Can you give us a breakdown of what kind of events, what things are going to be going on at these conferences?
Well, it's one day, and it's exactly what Natalia just shared about. It's an educational conference. It's not one of those conferences that you show up to and it's motivational and you get this red, white, and blue pen and
you get to watch a pre-recording of Donald Trump and Steven Spielberg talk about success versus failure.
Yeah, and then you go home, and you're like
that was cool, but I definitely took leave for that. Didn't get paid.
This conference is more so I'm gonna learn these tools, or I'm gonna take these tools that I've been given. And I'm going to actually be able to take them and apply them to my life, whether it's spiritually, financially, in my relationships, all of that. I'm going to be able to take that and actually apply them, because the real goal to all of it, the real roots of all the things that we do, whether it's the conference or the foundation, is if we can heal a veteran we can heal a family. And if we can heal a family, we can heal a community. And that's where the root is for all of this. Because, 44 veterans a day take their lives. Well, the spouse of a veteran that takes his or her life is 2 to 3 times more likely to walk into substance abuse. Okay. The child of that veteran is 3 to 4 times more likely to take his or her own life.
Holy shit.
Those are the statistics that are out there. Female veterans are killing themselves currently at a faster rate than the male counterparts right now.
Usually the male suicide numbers are what?
Yeah.
4 or 5 times more.
Yeah, because they
numbers.
they used to say that women attempt suicide, men commit suicide.
Yeah.
And now you're saying that female veterans suicide is on the rise.
Yes, much quicker.
That's crazy, dude. You got to please both of you send us that information because we would love to read through it and make it a focal point for one of our future discussions.
Absolutely. One of the things that I learned, it was from a Vietnam veteran, Chris Lambert from Destin. Super awesome guy. He was a Marine too in Vietnam. He's got stories for days. But he was the one that shared that information. And I was already aware of 44 Veterans Day. He was aware of it, but I had no idea the impact. I mean, obviously it impacts the spouse and stuff like that, but no idea.
Yeah, but you never know to like what degree.
Yeah.
Angelo, when you as a veteran, was there a noticeable difference in the effect that your events were having on the family vice the veteran?
Oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
We had our first deep sea fishing is where I really started seeing it in the family. Now I saw it like Natalia saw it at the shark dive. So I saw that. But
Which
when
we've
we had
established is not a euphemism, by the way. A shark dive is real. It's not a thing that I don't understand. It's a thing that I would do.
It was a
real
thing I would do. Yeah.
It's a real event with shark addicts up in Jupiter. The first time I really saw the impact on the family was we had a deep sea fishing trip. We had 30 veterans register. We had 75 veterans and their families show up.
Oh my God. 70 veterans plus their families?
Plus kids. Yeah.
You just yeet kids into the water with sharks? I'm actually on board with that.
Well, this was for the deep sea fishing, so.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
No, that makes much more sense. Yeah. Oh, that's an intrusive thought there. Sorry.
That's amazing. That's amazing though, because from a personal level, like going back, it's my whole family, and I've said this before, my whole family lives on Long Island. I'm the oldest of 5. I'm only one that ever served in the military, and it was so hard to go home, like especially after the deployments. And you take your week or 2 or whatever your command's giving you, time off, and you go home, and I don't know how many times my mom was just like, "Are you okay?" Oh yeah, I'm good, Mom. But in my head, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, "No!" Like, you know what I mean? Just like, and then you try to, and Angelo, I'm sure you've done this. You try to let little pieces. You try to like start what I call micro conversations. Hey, Mom, my mom would ask me something like, "Oh yeah, we did this over there," and you're trying to give them that little hook to like maybe understand, but they just don't. They don't. So to hear that your organization is not just helping the veterans, but I think the spouses, the families, especially the kids, being a parent myself of 2 teenage daughters, I've tried it. I've thought about it, but I couldn't leave them. I couldn't put them through that. Like I couldn't now to hear these numbers that the kid, what'd you say? The kids are 4 to 5. So have these events and to get these people together is absolutely amazing. Like I can't even put the words together to give you guys the kudos and credit for what you're doing and just the lives that you're changing. If you're not hearing it from them, I hope people are telling you about it. I hope you are hearing about it, because the lives that you're going to change doing this is I don't think you'll ever realize how far it really will stretch, you know.
Thank you.
Are your guys' events, are all the events, do you have any events that are just like for veterans, any events that are just for families? Are they like for veteran, for families, for veteran and families?
Yeah, we'll have specific events that are just like tailored to the veteran.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the majority of our events are oriented towards the family, because we've found that a lot of the veterans will reach out and be like, "Hey, man, I really want to go, but I have my son or I have my kids, and I can't just let them home." And I'm like, bring them. Are you
Yeah,
sure?
That's
Yeah.
huge.
Right,
That's
that's a big deal.
huge to hear. That's such a huge, the weight as a parent, the weight that gets lifted when, like, Angelo, if I was, oh man, Angelo, I would love to go. Billy, just bring the kids. I'd be like,
Yeah.
what?
Dude, the Navy,
What
the
time's
Navy
it start?
Reserve is putting in a ton of effort to find out if like the level of which people in the Navy Reserve would benefit from childcare on the weekends, so they can go to drill or go to drill on time. And I don't know if you know this or not, but being at drill is not a big fucking requirement, nor it is a massive priority in most of my life as a reservist. But like, I got people that one day that are like, "Hey, I can't. Like, I got my kid, my babysitter fell through, or I don't have daycare or what have you." And the Navy's like, "Hey, we're trying to figure out like how to take care of daycare." And we're like, "Oh, bring them with you." Like, I'd have to
Right.
learn how to stop swearing as much, but like, if that's the most I'm inconvenienced by somebody bringing their kid to a massive healing and potentially life-changing retreat, like, I will come up with new words.
Right.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll tell you this too. It's, because some of their kids are wild, and I love them because now I've got to meet so many. But
Yeah.
the real special part is after the event, when you're seeing the families have dinner together, they celebrate birthdays together, they're going on trips together,
Things
That's
they weren't
lives
doing
are going
beforehand.
out, like all these different things that are happening in the community.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're creating community not just for the veterans, but for their spouses as well, so they can,
And for the kids.
they're
Yeah. So
providing like
Mhm.
these connections where they can talk about similar things that they didn't have to worry about before
Yep.
because they were left in the dark or maybe just didn't know about. Now they have their own community as well.
Yep.
for
Exactly.
those,
And that's why the conference is open to family members as well, because
so cool.
parents, spouses
So cool.
need to understand what they're dealing with. The hormones are shot when these guys come back. Okay, there's hormone therapy. There could be a traumatic brain injury. Okay, there are these people, hyperbaric, there is shepherd centers, right? Or like you want to be an entrepreneur as a family, but you don't know the difference between LLCs and S corps. We are educating you on it. When to rent, when to buy, when to
That's
invest.
awesome.
Even as regular civilians, we don't know that. But we have these people that come, and then we, of course, we have a lot of like, Navy SEALs and Army Rangers that are just go. The amputee
Yeah.
Earl Granville is coming. He's going to share his journey, right? Like how he is such an incredible athlete, and just there is hope. There are resources that no veteran should ever feel alone, ever, or the families to understand that if they need something, we are here. The other spouses are here, and like we love to see when they barbecue together, and now they have this like little community, and everybody, hey, like, Angelo had this symptoms, oh, John did too, you might want to look into this, right? Like they're sharing
Yeah.
resources.
You start
So
talking about like
it's
who's been on what med for how long and in what volume. You're like,
Exactly.
"Oh my god, did you have this side effect? Oh, I shit my pants for 11 straight days. It was crazy. I had to stop taking it. Like, it's wild. You're just sitting there like
Right.
flipping burgers and whatnot. That's crazy. I love the idea of a military family doing the entrepreneur, but it's probably because I mostly support child labor in this country. But whatever gets you through it.
Dance, monkey, dance.
No, it's really like for those listening, like when Hugh and I, we're good friends, and we have a lot of our veteran friends and stuff like that. We'll do get-togethers when we can, and it's my kids will tell me, Dad, you're so different when you're around your friends that you serve with. And I was like, it's because you can kind of you can just relax. Like, people understand what you went through. People understand, or people you served with. Like, hey man, remember this crazy, remember this crazy E8 we had, you fucking idiot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is. Yeah, Angelo enjoyed that one. Angelo had a couple of those.
It's like listening to an HR department. It's like there's a line you don't cross, but in our community, that line is facing a different direction and is probably uphill both ways in the States.
Yeah. So like, for those listening, that you guys, your website's, it's been on the bottom on the ticker the whole time, Barracks Legends Foundation.com. And check it. I put it up on the screen a minute ago, but it's absolutely, first off, some of the numbers I'm hearing are mind blowing. It's the first time, Angelo, that I've heard some of these numbers. So it's, as long as we've been doing this podcast, it's kind of shocking to me. But it's also absolutely amazing what you guys are doing. And the cool part is, sitting here talking with both of you, is like Natalia's doing right now, is the smirking, the smiles you guys get when you talk about the foundation itself. That's awesome, because it just shows the love that you two have, that you're putting into it to help change these people's lives. And it's, again, I just don't think you'll probably ever really see how deep it really goes. It's cool to hear the stories, but
Ooh, what's the next big step? What are you already planning that you're not ready for yet?
Oh,
or can you talk about it yet? Is this the top? Are we diving into the top secret part that we can't put on air? Or what's going on?
Do it.
Would we? No, I don't think there's a. Normally we do our planning in December, so all of our big plans for 2025. Those are
convenient for this conversation.
Yeah.
That was a diplomatic way of answering it.
It's like, usually our planning's in December, but since it's October, we can't divulge that information.
No, we have awesome stuff. Like, we have so many more events coming up, because we try to switch it up. Like, don't have just paint and sip or same old events over and over. But we are just getting the outreach in the community, right? Like, how can we, and we definitely want to do something for females. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like, but maybe just for the females, right? Because they
great
need
resources we could hook you up with. We have some
awesome.
Yeah, some pretty impactful, powerful female veterans that we know that run some amazing organizations that would love to do something like that.
Awesome. We would love to, because because the research also shows that just in the whole world life, that female suicide is up from 45 to 55 because of hormone stuff that females have to deal with. But again, no one talks about it, right? Or it's not covered by insurance or whatever it is. So how can we break down these like walls of whether it's shame or whatever it is that stops us from these conversations, and kind of just show up for one another, because you know that your community will show up. Everybody like on Instagram and social media, everybody's so brave in their like mama's basement, like talking smack on the comments. But
that's
your
exactly
real
what it sounds
community,
like in my head. That's exactly what that sounds like too.
So great.
When I read what they're typing, I'm like, in my head, that's exactly what they sound like too.
Yeah,
that's snarky
like,
little.
Come out and say it in my face. You know. But the real community will show up, right?
That
the real community, will support you. Yeah.
No, it's our generation. Go ahead. Hugh.
Sorry, no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Go ahead.
I was gonna say our generation of warfighter, which I say the OEF, OIF, not the 9/11 vets are. I think it's a double-edged sword. It's the advances in combat medicine have brought a lot of soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines home that in other wars they would have died on the battlefield. Right? Let's call it what it is. So you have amputees, double amputees, triple amputees, right? Those guys usually, men and women, are usually left on the battlefield, and that's kind of it for them. But our generation of warfighters, the 9/11 vets, are also that generation that I'm very proud to say is trying the best to break that stigma of suck it up, buttercup, you'll be fine. Don't talk about it. You'll be good. You got to move forward. But we've had so many conversations with so many people in the 9/11 veteran warfighter community that are like, we need to talk about it. You have to talk about it. You can't be that statistic. You can't be that number. So it's organizations like yours that are bringing that ability for us to be like, all right, you know what? Let's go to this event, see what happens, and then you meet like-minded individuals, planning barbecues, you're sharing your stories, you're getting some healing, you're having a good time. Like, really, it doesn't get better than that. This is such a short life that we have. It's such a short life, you know. And
yourself, I'm gonna live forever.
Okay. Anyway, okay. You know something we don't. We'll talk off air, okay? Because
I think if I knew something, I wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah, I
think we all agree in that.
That's a fact. Yeah. No,
but
I'll tell you what, awesome.
I like the idea of that you do events that are specific for veterans and specific for families. So I don't have it. I'm not going to have any children of my own because I'm super selfish. But I have seen people who, like, you know, I haven't seen in a minute, and then I see them again a couple years later, and they talk about the changes that they put themselves through for their family, and you can see how they interact differently with their kids and how they talk differently with their kids, from always calling their kid Bubba or Sport or Kid or what have you, to like engaging them in full conversation. And, you know, it's a shit drawing, but you feign interest, you know, things that I don't have to deal with on my own. And I think it's important also to focus on female veterans. I couldn't even begin to imagine what it would have to be like to be a female in the military, much less have to be a female veteran. And every time when somebody talks about like, oh, you know, you just hold like veteran events, whatever, I remember that, like, you know, we sent a woman to space for a week and sent her with 100 tampons. I'm like, maybe we're not quite ready to, maybe we're not entirely sure we know what we're doing for everybody just yet. And I think it's important to have events specifically for females, for them to have conversations in those safe spaces where they feel that they can speak without being spoken over. And I feel this way about leadership and management a lot of the time when they say like, hey, we have an open door policy if you have a complaint, right? So you go make a complaint and then they just validate why what you're complaining about is the way that you do it, right? Yeah. So I could definitely see that as female veterans, they go say, hey, this is the problem we have, that somebody just sits there and validates why we can't do anything about that. So I think it's important for them to have their own space to go with like-minded people who have probably experienced it or thought about it themselves, to go, not the first one, not going to be the last. What are we going to do about it? And then people who can like tangibly come up with a way to solve a problem that like a person like myself isn't going to be able to figure out. And people who show up with their families say, hey, this is what I want to do for my kids, or this is what I saw for my kids, because I don't know how to tell somebody how to reconnect with their kids. I mean, my brother and I, we joke all the time. Every time his wife is like, what about the kids? We're both like, fuck them kids. Now they can understand us. We have to say FTK, but you know, we joke. I'm not kidding. I don't care what we're going to do with the kids. I want to go watch the hockey match, but he has to think about it. So who am I to tell somebody how to reconnect with their children? Right. But that doesn't mean that there isn't like a wizard at one of these events who's like, oh, it turns out these benefited me. These helped me reconnect with my kid. And it could be anywhere from, hey, I just started showing up to my kid's softball game. Hey, it could be, I helped them or her with a coloring book, or turns out we both liked the same sport or activity together. And it's when you have so much going on, you have that like thundercloud of stuff going on inside your head, and you can't even get your thoughts straight. And you're like, fuck, did I brush my teeth today before I left the house? It just tastes like Gatorade. You're not really thinking about like how, like, oh, what's a way that I could help reconnect with my family so they don't leave me and I fucking hate my life for the rest of it, you know? It's just good to have that wide range of events.
Now, Angelo and Natalia, we can't hear.
I think you accidentally muted yourself.
Oh, she's taking off.
She says she's coming right for you, Angelo.
Is this her resigning? Is she resigning live on air right now?
I just got the email. Hold on. Let me read it.
Okay. Let's review this together. We're not letting this happen. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, my headphones died.
No, it's okay. Before we get out of here, I wanted you guys to talk about this big event conference you have coming up on November 16th. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and what's going to be taking place and who you're having there?
Yeah. So November 16th, we'll be having our first annual Barracks Legend Conference. and it's an educational conference. And I know we talked a little bit about it earlier, but it is going to be extremely impactful, because this isn't one of those, oh, I'm just going to go there and hear someone try to inspire me or tell me to fake it till I make it. No, like we're creating this and setting this up so that you have the tools to take with you and apply to your life, so that you can thrive, so that your family can thrive, because we're going to have amazing speakers. We have Ray Cash, Navy SEAL. We have Jessica, the Libo Risk. We have Gary
Hell
King.
yeah.
Gary King is a interesting one because he created the happiness experiment. And one of the things that really stands out, and Natalia will probably jump in on this too, is up in St. Pete, there are happiness signs everywhere.
St.
There's
Pete, Florida?
St. Pete, Florida. There's like
Okay.
Really?
600 happiness signs everywhere. And
Interesting.
we stopped, met him. We were going to do 30 minutes. We wound up there 8 hours.
What?
Holy shit.
We ended up talking to him for 8 hours. It was crazy.
And then right when we were
Awesome.
about to leave, he lives in an old World War II hangar with a giant happiness sign over top. And we're about to leave, and this
I'm not
girl
gonna lie,
knocks
that makes
on the
sense.
It was like this.
I'm not gonna lie, that makes sense.
Someone knocks on the door,
Okay.
and they go, "Oh, are you Gary King?" He goes, "Yes." And we're about to walk out, and this
Yeah.
girl goes, "I just wanted to thank you because your sign saved my life." And he's like, "How so?" She was about to kill herself, and she could see happiness in the distance.
Jesus.
And I'm like looking at Natalia. I was like, "No way."
Who the fuck is this guy?
It almost felt set up, right? Like it was like, wait till they leave and knock on the door. Like
Yeah, but it's happened again and again. We've seen,
that's
and we've heard.
insane. That's
And
insane.
he has overcome 36 complex PTSDs.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I don't know, I married a crazy chick. It's like his
I did.
son committed suicide. He
It's all right,
himself
Angelo,
hit a
everybody gets
5-year-old boy with a car and killed him on the spot. Like, there's so many things that have gone. He's a Navy veteran, like in his life. And how do you overcome that? How do you find, a will to live again? So his story is so incredible. And he also says that he was born with PTSD. And one of the things that really triggered us like to ask him more questions is like, is it possible? Like, can you do that? So yeah, it's some cool stuff.
Gary King. If you Google the happiness experiment,
Yep.
happier.place, you can read all about it.
That's him.
And
He looks like Jimmy Buffett.
I was skimming some of this while you were talking, and this is fucking wild. This is going to be an amazing person to hear speak.
Yes, we agree.
Or we wouldn't have him as our keynote.
That's fair.
It's going to be an amazing conference. And we're just
going to have 20 different vendors there that all provide support to veterans. Like, everything is very all about supporting of veterans. So we're not going to have like just someone there that brings nothing to the table for the veterans. So
that's fucking great.
Now,
you guys will have. Sorry, go ahead.
Where do most of the events take place?
South Florida, between West Palm and Miami.
And are you guys looking to expand out from there?
Yeah, we just expanded to Ohio. It's kind of our guinea pig. And they'll have their first event, I believe, October 17th.
17th, yeah.
Yeah, it's the Blink Cincinnati.
Why Ohio?
One of our directors, Natalia and I were talking about what our 3-year and 5-year plan would look like. And obviously our events went from 1 to 4 very quickly. So we had to figure out how to make this not just efficient, but also stable. Like, how do we make a stable foundation for the actual foundation to expand in a healthy manner? So once we got to those 4 events, 5 events a month, like, well, let's let's see what we can do in an expansion. Let's see how that would look like. And Jody reached out to us, and she wanted to be a part. She was already a part of a big veteran community up in Ohio, and from there we started building, and we'll have our first event this month.
We'd like
awesome.
to have a chapter in each state. That's like our macro goal. But we need to just make sure that when we do that, we are careful that we're sticking to our vision, mission, and values, that things are getting, duplicated as they should be, because we just have tested out what's working and what's not. And that's our first state. So we are super excited.
Yeah, we're very strategic. Deal. We're very strategic about everything we do, from our planning to the people we collaborate with, to who's on our board, who our sponsors are. Everything is very vetted and strategically planned to the T.
That's
awesome. Fantastic. That's fucking amazing, dude.
Yeah.
Congratulations to the both of you, branching out to Ohio. 4 events a month on average. Angelo's talking about 7 events per month going into next year. Natalia's talking about like a future satellite location on the moon. Natalia's talking about a future satellite location on the moon. That's awesome.
No, but we can't thank you guys enough for taking the time out of your day to be able to join us here tonight on Liberty Risk Podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure to be able to hear about your foundation and to sit here and have these conversations with you. It's been awesome. Before we get out of here, I want you guys just to hang out when we go offline. I just want to talk to you real quick afterwards, if we can get 5 more minutes of your time offline. Sure. But everyone, thank you so much for joining us here tonight on Liberty Risk Podcast. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you check us out on all the social media platforms, all the podcast platforms. You can catch this. It'll be up. If you're watching it live and you want to catch it later, it'll be up live. It'll be up on the Spotify first thing tomorrow morning. Check us out on social medias. Give us a like, a follow, share, show us some love. And as always, thank you so much for joining us. You guys take it easy. Have a great night.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks for being here.